Okay, I'm ready.
All right, excellent. Welcome. I'd like to call to order the regular city commission meeting for Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Will you please have roll call?
Commissioner Drosky.
Here.
Commissioner Hudak.
Here.
Commissioner Preston.
Here.
Vice Mayor Parnes.
Here.
And Mayor Gantz.
Here. Before we do Pledge of Allegiance, I know we're not doing a moment of silence, but I would be remiss to not mention that the city of Deerfield Beach lost one of their former mayors over the weekend. Dick Mowry was a former mayor and city commissioner here in the city of Deerfield Beach from 1969 and 1970, as well as 1972 and 1973. He was a member of the Community Presbyterian Church here in Deerfield Beach, former FBI agent, and he leaves behind his wife, Mary, of 52 years. We thank him for his service, not only to our country, but to our city, and he will be missed and never forgotten. We have our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge of allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
United States
of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. If we could have approval of the city commission meeting minutes for May 5th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. We have approval of the agenda tonight for May 19th, 2020.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Commissioner Preston, second from Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, we have approval of the agenda. City Clerk or City Attorney, do you want to comment on our Zoom meeting? Give everybody a little extra information.
Mayor, we actually have a public hearing first.
Okay.
Item number 1 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting and authorizing submission of an amended fiscal year 2019-2020 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, providing for implementation and effective date.
Staff, any comments?
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission. This first item hopefully is one of many more to come that is geared towards assisting businesses with their COVID-related impact. And I have 2 staff members who can speak to the item. I have Ms. Vicki Placid-Picard, who can talk about the changes to the CDBG action plan to provide for the funding. And then I also have Ms. Chris Morey, who can talk more specifically about how those funds will be used for the micro program. So if I may, Vicki.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Vicki Placid-Picard, Community Development Director. The item before you, as our city manager mentioned, is an amendment to the city's existing Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. So the purpose of the amendment is we are reprogramming funds from our commercial facade program to create a micro enterprise program. And this will allow us to provide a one-time assistance up to $5,000 to small businesses, which under our definition would be businesses with employees of 5 or less. And that would include the owner as well. So the assistance can go towards their business lease or mortgage payments, utility payments, monthly debt payments, their payroll, and other inventory. And so we're setting aside $75,000 of current funds that we have to administer this program. And the hope, as our city manager said, is to, once we receive additional funds through CDBG COVID, that we'll be able to have similar programs for businesses as well as our residents once we get the go-ahead from HUD.
Mr. City Manager, any comments?
Nothing further. I can have Chris Morey talk a little bit more about how the program will operate if you'd like. I think that may be beneficial. So, Ms. Morey.
Absolutely. Please.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Vicki really did cover most of the salient points with the program. Obviously, this is an attempt to make additional funds available for some of our hardest to reach businesses, the smallest businesses in our community that may not have the ability to access, excuse me, other funds that some businesses did, like PPP and bridge loans and that kind of thing. In preparation for this program, we've been starting to work yesterday and today to identify businesses that might qualify for these funds based on what we know about the businesses in the community and where the businesses that have this type of employee making this type of salary might be located, so that we can start doing research and get badly needed funds out to those businesses who might otherwise kind of fall through the cracks.
So this is $75,000?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With a maximum of $5,000 per company?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are we making it a priority to give it to the businesses who first have not received any other additional governmental funding? Or if they have received some of these other loans and grants out there, that they still, it's just a first come, first served basis?
So this is Vicki. As a part of the requirement, they're not allowed to receive additional funds. So there's a section of the application regarding duplicate funding, and they will not be eligible if they've received funding in the past.
Outstanding. What are we doing to get the word out on this so more people are aware of this, more of these businesses? Is that the work that Chris, that you and your staff are doing?
That's correct, Mayor. We've started identifying businesses in the community through our business tax receipts database that we've been developing over these past almost 9 weeks now. And we're also looking for businesses that, known businesses that are smaller in nature. Obviously to find those businesses that have 5 or fewer employees.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Do we have anybody to write in for a minute, Madam Clerk?
No, sir, we did not.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised except for the commission. I'm going to close it to the public unless someone comes in late on that. Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This sounds like a wonderful program. I'd like to know how businesses apply for it. I think it's great that we're trying to identify them. But I think, if it's a first come, first served basis, I would think that they're going to want to apply as quickly as possible. And how are we going to determine, is it just the first one first come, first serve is first come, first serve. So how would they actually apply to make sure that they at least had an opportunity to secure these funds?
One of the things that we're doing upon approval tonight, Chris's team, Economic Development and Community Development, tomorrow we have a drafted press release that will be going out, giving them the details of how to apply, as well as what documents they need to have prepared. We wanted to give them, in all their businesses, some time to gather those documents. So we've proposed of starting the program next Wednesday, which is May 27th, so that individuals the next couple of days between both departments and different press releases and the different social media that we can give individuals ample time to get ready. And then next Wednesday, we are mainly going to do it online. However, we will have the application available to individuals who are unable to submit through the online system.
Okay, because it's only 15 businesses.
Correct.
Are we working with the Chamber of Commerce in any way? You know, because I know that they know the businesses as well, or is it just, you know, our staff doing it?
Commissioner Hudak, every time we launch an economic development initiative for the past over 2 months now, everything that we do, we share with the Chamber of Commerce to push out to their membership as well.
Thank you.
Of course.
Commissioner Preston?
Commissioner Hudak, did you have another point to make?
No other questions.
Okay. Yes, according to the backup, now this $75,000 is taken from the CDBG comprehensive plan as it relates to facades. And now that money is taken away. If someone were to, you know, a business in Deerfield that would have normally been eligible for this facade program, what do we tell them now? Do we tell them next year that we're going to have some money, or what do we say to a person that would have been eligible to take, take advantage of the facade program? The other thing is that we have to keep in mind that 15 businesses, you know, at $5,000 a piece, it's really not a lot of businesses. So it's imperative that the word gets out to those people who are really, really needed, and that would be able to, to be able to profit from this sort of thing. So what I want to know is that if it's first come, first serve, do staff look at something that would leverage one over another?
Okay, I can answer a couple of the questions. The first question regarding the commercial facade. So if an individual, a company contacts us now for assistance, we will let them know that at this time, we do not have funding for commercial facade. Based on the proposed plan that will come before the commission later on in June, there are not funds set aside for commercial facade. We haven't had any takers for this program for quite some time now. But staff can look into it and look to see if we need to reallocate funding, or not reallocate, but redo our budget in terms of funding for 2021. Regarding your question on first come, first serve and how that works, with the online system that we have, as people submit their applications, we'll go through and make sure they're eligible, because not everyone who applies will be eligible. One of the things with this program is really focused on businesses who hire low to moderate income individuals. So we may get a business that comes in and they may have 5 employees. However, we will have to go through and income certify, meaning verifying that these employees meet the income criteria. So when individuals come in, although they may come in first, they still have to go through the process of making sure that they're eligible. So we're not off the bat gonna, and one business would have leverage over the other, but just going through the qualification component may automatically throw out some businesses because they may not meet the full qualification.
Yes, and if I could build off of that, Vicki, just to manage the expectation, Commissioner Preston, when Vicki was speaking of income qualifying, so first of all, these businesses have to have 5 or less employees, and 51% of them have to be low and moderate income. And just for reference, low and moderate income, if that employee is supporting as part of a household of 4 people, that household cannot make more than $71,000. So it's going to be actually something of a task to go through and work with the business owners to income qualify their employees. In other words, this is a first-time test, so we'll have to take it as it comes, but it may be actually more difficult than you think to find 15 businesses to access these funds. because of the income restrictions.
I have a question. I'm sorry, Commissioner Hudak, you have your hand up again?
I do. If you want to go first, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. How many in this facade program, is that based on a percentage of the projects? In other words, how many different businesses could get that if they decided to do the project, could actually, what's the maximum per business on the facade program?
So the maximum, we had set aside the 75,000 will be for one business.
So while we talk about that 15 is a small number of businesses that are affected, you actually could have one business come in and want to take advantage of the facade program, and depending on how large that facade program is, they could use up the entire 75,000. Is that correct?
Correct. But once these funds are reallocated, once it's approved tonight, if it's approved, then that funding is no longer available and will only be available for the micro enterprise program.
No, I completely understand. I just wanted to address that to the point of, 15 is not a lot of businesses, but we're actually, we have the ability to reach more businesses with using the money this way than we are if we just use it for the facade program.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you. Please educate me on why we're making it so restrictive with regards to this income restriction. Now, I understand that the smaller businesses are in the greatest of needs, but after a couple of months, if we can't even find 15 businesses that qualify for this, are we going to go ahead and expand it? I just want to make sure that we're not making it so difficult that it sounds great and dandy, but nobody can even qualify for it.
Commissioner Hudak, we're looking for recovery resources in many different pots of money. This particular pot of money comes from federal dollars, the Community Development Block Grant, and these restrictions are what guides it, not us. This is not a locally established policy for expending these dollars. Those are federal regulations.
Wonderful. Thank you for clarifying that. I do appreciate that.
Okay, we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, and I'll second that.
We have
Second.
a motion from Commissioner Preston, second from Commissioner Hudak. A roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
We are now at the public comment portion of tonight's agenda. Persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute by the mayor. This portion of the agenda is the time for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. If you have public comment regarding an agenda item that's on tonight's agenda, the time to do that is after that agenda item is called. And a reminder that no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibility shall be permitted. And Madam Clerk, if you could please let folks know who may be zooming in via phone or video, how they can let you know that they have a public comment.
If you are calling from a mobile device or a handheld phone, you can dial *9 on your phone to raise your hand, and you'll be recognized by the last 3 digits of your phone number. If you have dialed in using using video, please put your mouse on the bottom screen, click on participants, and at the bottom of that screen on the right, you'll be able to select raise hand.
Okay. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody that's written in?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay, if you could please read their comments verbatim, as long as it doesn't exceed the 3 or 4 minutes.
Yes, sir. 1 moment, please. All right, Heather, you ready?
believe that's someone who's on speakerphone. That might be an issue.
Dear members of City Council, thank you for everything you do for our city. My name is Lindsay Cottrell, and I represent Island Water Sports and Island Camps. I know these past few months have been faced with difficult decisions to keep your citizens safe. These are not easy times, and we are grateful for your service. My family and I have owned and operated our business in the city of Deerfield Beach for 42 years, and for the past 8 years, we, as an independent service provider, have run the city of Deerfield Beach's winter, spring, and summer surf program. We have been taking registrations, but the final decisions for beach programs. That's weird. Okay. We have been taking registrations, but the final decisions for beach programs have not been finalized. When considering approval of surf camp for the summer, please note that we understand the desire to protect our residents and greater community. As an independent service provider, we are submitting a detailed contingency plan for how to run our surf camp, ensuring our camp would run with the greatest of safety precautions as per the CDC for our employees, our campers, and their parents. This summer, we are prepared to continue to handle all registration that can be completed strictly online to avoid any in-person contact for city employees. The city of Deerfield Beach receives 22.5% of the registration fee for beach usage and marketing. In addition to registration, IWS handles the entire operation, from kid drop-off through pickup daily at the Island Water Sports, 9 till 3, Monday through Friday. No parking is required for parents as per the drop-off mentioned above. We have made an extensive plan to comply with the CDC guidelines of social distancing with groups of less than 10. Each group will be 25 feet apart from the other, separated by age and ability levels. No personnel from the city of Deerfield Beach will need to interact in direct contact with campers, parents, or staff. And furthermore, all our employees are lifeguard certified. Praise God, we have never needed to conduct a rescue in our years running camp. However, if that incident would arise, we are confident our employees would be successful in handling a rescue and would not need the assistance of beach staff. If additional safety precautions are required, we are willing to work with the city to implement whatever additional recommendations deemed necessary. Another note, the guidelines Fort Lauderdale and Lantana are following is to allow beach camps when a county enters phase 2. So we are hoping to be in good company. We have heard from many of our residents throughout the community that the need for children's programs during this day is huge. Our phone is ringing off the hook with parents needing programs for their children to participate in, especially as they try and resume their regular work schedule. We have tried to accommodate as many residents as possible in our local camps, skate camp for instance, but with our new social distancing practices in place, we have limited space and therefore our demands for campers continues. With CDC recommendations to spend time outdoors and continue exercise program for the betterment of our health, we believe our surf camp would be offered for as many children as possible. Thank you for your consideration, and we ask that you allow surf camp to continue this summer. Lindsay.
Thank you.
Lindsay Cottrell, Island Water Sports.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there any other written in comments?
That is all.
Okay, I see one hand raised with the phone number ending in 227. Just need your name and address for the record, please. They're on mute. If we want to unmute them.
No, they're not on mute.
227, are you there? Phone
Yeah.
number?
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Yeah, my name is Chris Payne. My address is 1023 Southeast 14th Drive, Deerfield Beach.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I also wanted to inquire about the beach opening for physical activities such as surfing, swimming, diving, free diving, fishing, things of that nature. I'm not sure if this is the time for those questions or comments, or if this is just on the economic,
No,
the stimulus package.
you're fine. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So I just was wondering what our city's position is, and if what we could expect in the coming days for the next phase of opening.
Okay. We'll give you an answer at the end here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands raised. Commissioner Drosky, you have your hand raised?
I do. I sent some comments to the clerk earlier today that the public wanted to be read this evening.
Madam Clerk, while you're pulling that up, I'll jump ahead and answer the gentleman's question. Obviously the beaches we're under rule by the county, which has had numerous conference calls with the mayors of each city in Broward County to have discussions about the opening of our beaches. Right now, depending on what the governor does and what the county does, we are looking at the Tuesday after Memorial Day to have our beaches open to active activity. I believe, depending on again, this all depends on what comes down from the county, but it would be activity that does not include having towels laid out or chairs, but walking, swimming, diving, surfing. That I believe would be the first phase of beach openings. Again, this is dependent on what the county allows us to do, and we're waiting for that. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Muted.
Okay, we have a message from Leon Karasik. Mr. Drosky, I hope this email find you and your family well. I am writing this email to you in regards to the city of Deerfield Beach not allowing small boutique gyms and personal trainers to open their businesses. These businesses should be separate for big box gyms, LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, UFit. These businesses operate with a very small private client base. They have smaller spaces that are easily maintained and cleaned between classes clients. They function on a schedule, no walk-in traffic. CDC guidelines can and will be easily followed in such settings. My wife owns such a gym. Her business has not received any federal support nor any support from the state of Florida. She has not received any type of state unemployment as that system is less than adequate. She has continued to pay the monthly responsibilities for the gym even though she cannot see any clients. 2 miles up the road, Palm Beach County has allowed their gyms to open. And Broward County, Fort Lauderdale has allowed their gyms to open as well. We need to have continuity with these decisions. If Fort Lauderdale, a much larger city, opens all of their gyms, there is no reason a much smaller city like ours refuses to take any action to let people earn a living. Churches have reopened, retail stores have reopened. Why are those businesses any better than these small family-owned gyms? There is no reason a person can walk around Walmart or Home Depot, but it is not allowed to exercise in a much more controlled and cleaner environment. The city of Deerfield has done nothing to support these small businesses. The least that can be done is allow them to resume trying to save their businesses after forcing them to shut their doors for 2 months. I hope you receive this in time to have this read at the City Commission meeting this evening. Respectfully, Leon Karasik.
Thank you. Do we have
You're welcome.
anything else on that?
No, sir. Thank you, Commissioner Drosky.
I'm going to close it to the public. To address that, obviously that's pretty controversial what occurred with Fort Lauderdale with what came down from the governor. The governor in the county the rules apply differently to South Florida, Miami-Dade and Broward than they have in other areas of the state of Florida. Fort Lauderdale, ironically, was one of the cities that was pushing to have gyms open when we did a 50% opening like we did on this past Monday. That was not the consensus of most of the mayors. They're still working out, they're looking for more strict guidelines to make sure that the gyms could open, but they had some stricter guidelines. Ironically, when the governor threw gyms in, which was surprising to many, Fort Lauderdale decided to do what they've done before, which is a breakout of their own from the rest of away from the county. So many of you probably read what happened in the Sun Sentinel, the controversy that's occurred between the mayor of Fort Lauderdale and certain county commissioners. I think we all need to work together and not to be breaking apart the way Fort Lauderdale has done. Palm Beach County has already separated itself from Broward County, and we're trying to hold pace and keep ourselves together. I believe that there was discussion today at the Broward County Commission's meeting to address the situation. I'm not sure what the final outcome was. I'm waiting for our next mayor's meeting in which the county will inform us which direction they're looking to go. They did survey us, and we're looking for feedback as far as the opening of the gyms. And certainly I've shared the information that Mr. Karasik had sent in as these boutique gymnasiums might want to be looked at differently than some of the other ones. Okay. Next item.
Okay, item number 2 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving a facility use and grant agreement with DPR Youth Enrichment Association for Academics and Athletics, Inc. for the Packer Rattlers Youth Football, Cheerleading, and Academic Support Programs, approving a $35,000 grant to support the youth football and cheerleading programs within the city, providing for execution, severability, and effective date.
Thank you. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is the grant agreement for the, for otherwise referred to as the Packer Rattlers. You can see the grant amount is $35,000. Last year it was significantly more. That helped support the purchase of a lot of the equipment and uniforms that they needed. With that being now taken care of and still in a cycle where they can be used, this is the amount for which the city and the Packer Rattlers have agreed. And this, of course, is contingent upon the ability to have a season and the delays in the season that may cause some changes in the amount or may not happen at all. But we're hopeful that there will be football this year.
Okay. Commissioner Hudak.
Last year when we approved the funds for the Packer Rattlers, there were a lot of restrictions that were placed on the Packer Rattlers with regards to their finances and background checks. And I just want to make sure that they have followed all of those requirements, and they continue to follow all of those requirements that we had implemented last year.
Thank you, Commissioner. And to my knowledge, they have met all requirements. I think the only piece of information that we do not have yet, and this is, we're not going to be able to get it, is their completed tax returns, as there has been an extension of filing, and they haven't completed those yet or gotten those done yet. So other than that, I believe every other requirement has been met and has been reviewed by staff.
Thank you.
Mr. Soroka, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out that all of the restrictions that we had in the agreement last year continue to be in there for this year. And there were a couple of other modifications to address COVID impacts, in addition to the reduced funding, of course. One, that if the season does go forward, that they have to follow any applicable executive orders or CDC guidance with respect to their programming, that's issued in response to the current declared public health emergency. And then 2, your manager alluded to it earlier, that for whatever reason, if the season is suspended or delayed, that the funding may be suspended or delayed until confirmation of continuation of the season and the need for the funding.
Okay. Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you, Mayor. It's either for the city manager or the parks director, but what criteria are we using to evaluate, whether this season goes forward? I mean, I think the last season went better than, we expected. We have a Super Bowl champion team here in the city of Deerfield Beach now, and we certainly all are looking forward to football again. But are we using the criteria, for example, that the pro leagues are trying to come up with to establish how to restart sports, or are we coming up with our own criteria?
Thank you, Commissioner. I think what you're finding is a lot of the leagues for which these sports teams belong to, they are making a lot of the calls in terms of when they're going to begin. And so that, along with any restrictions that the city has in terms of its field usage, which currently is restricted by emergency order to not allow organized sports activities, would also impact that decision as well. So we will continue on our end to monitor, to look at what's going on with COVID, the emergency orders issued by the county, what the other cities are doing around us in terms of allowing for youth sports activities, and then of course what the leagues are recommending and what they are allowing as well. So
Okay, all right, thank you.
Unfortunately, I don't have a timetable or a definitive answer for you, but at this time, there's no known date for allowing youth sports.
Okay, so long as it's monitored.
Commissioner Preston.
I just wanted to say about this particular resolution is that to all my colleagues, a reminder, without your support, this would have never happened. Commissioner Drosky just mentioned that we have a Super Bowl champion, and in fact we do. But this is an example of whatever we look, when we look at the Packer Rattlers, and whatever the positive is that we see, we all must share, because absence of all of us working together, it would not have happened. I just wanted to also remind the commission that this is still really an upstart program. Last year was their first year, but just keep in mind that some things could go wrong, some things that are not anticipated. This is not like they have been going for a long, long time. So just keep in mind that hopefully everything goes well, but there are things that could happen, and we need to keep that in mind. But I just wanted to, again, just thank my colleagues for even allowing this to be in the city of Deerfield Beach, and it has proven already to be a positive for our community.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner. Is there anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I don't see any hands raised. Is anyone written in, Madam Clerk?
No, sir, but I believe Vice Mayor Parnes is trying to speak, and I think he's lost audio.
Commissioner Parnes, do you want to try to speak? You sound great. We don't hear you. Sorry, Commissioner, we don't hear you.
And another thing.
Vice Mayor Parnes, we cannot hear you. The call, your phone dropped for some reason. We can't hear you.
While we wait for Commissioner Parnes, I don't see anyone from the public coming forward.
That's
I'm
you.
going to call them right now.
I will close it to the public. I do want to say this, Tyrone Philpart and the entire Packer Rattlers organization did an outstanding job. And Commissioner Preston, you should be very proud to kind of bring this forward and get this moving. And they did it the right way, which is what I think all of us have wanted all along. And you should be very proud of the work they've done. I hope this season gets to take off again and get these kids out there having fun again, because they did an outstanding job. Commissioner Parnes, you ready?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, Vice Mayor. Sorry, go right ahead.
That's okay. What we intended for the program to do last year in correcting what we had found in the past to be lacking has been accomplished. I'm proud of the management of the team, and the head of who's running it has done an excellent job, not only in following the rules set down by the commission, but by the result of having teams and having them well trained, and the boys and girls and from the cheerleading having a good time. That's what this is all about. Not winning or losing, but children enjoying good, clean sports. So I recommend that we go ahead and continue our sponsorship.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'll move that we approve this.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Parnas, second from Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Hudak, Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes,
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving an amendment to the HL 109 agreement with the Department of Economic Opportunity for the Brunhilde Richardson Knowles Memorial Park and Cemetery Project to reallocate funds to the security camera installation budget, authorizing execution of the amendment, providing for severability and an effective date.
City Manager?
Yes, thank you. This item is to shift the allocation of funding for the portion of the grant that is to be used for the security cameras and for the public art. The expenditures for the originally anticipated expenditures for the security cameras did not include the self-mounted poles, which we now are going to be using rather than putting them onto existing poles, which was not going to be possible. So we need to change the allocation to increase the expenditure for the security cameras and decrease the expenditure for the public art, which came in a little bit cheaper than we originally anticipated. So there's actually no change in the overall grant amount that is being provided to us. It's just a reallocation of the two items that we are purchasing through the grant.
Thank you. And just for clarity, so what you're saying is the public art portion of that project is not suffering because it came in under budget. We just have more in that budget line item that we're going to transfer over to the security cameras?
That's correct. And I'd be happy to show you a brief presentation of the art pieces if you would like, with the caveat that we would have really liked to have used the public art committee to vet that public art. Unfortunately, we don't have the public art committee fully established at this time. As soon as we do, we'll of course ensure that all public art, once they are established, goes through that committee for approval.
Okay. I have one other side question regarding the project and that property. Have we resolved some of the parking issues we have over there?
We're actually working on that. We do have the streets department working on getting rid of some of that swale and creating some parallel parking. I think they're going to be doing that on, it's either going to be the western side of the park or the northern side of the park. I don't remember offhand, but that is a project that we are working on and in design.
Excellent. Thank you. I see one hand from the public. Commissioner Preston, you want to go first before the public?
No, let them go.
Okay. I'm going to open it to the public. We have one hand raised. Ricardo Cukier.
Hey, hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, so it's Ricardo Cook here from 1221 Southwest 46th Avenue. First, I want to just say thanks to all of you guys for the hard work you have been doing to keep this city running during all this pandemic. And I think you guys have been doing a very good job. Specifically about this project, I am all in favor for that project. I'm one of the security guys in my HOA and at my work, and definitely cameras in any public common area space is really good, especially around the arts. My only concern that I saw on the agenda is that the scope of work was very generic and not specific, like saying we're going to, install cameras, but they didn't lay down the scope of work, how many cameras or DVRs or whatever. So I couldn't see that on the proposal. So it's only more a recommendation to double check and make sure you have the figures matching the installation. What is the scope of work? So we don't mislead, and then we end up with not covering the whole area that you want, and then we need more funds for that. Thank you, guys.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Cookie. Appreciate it. Anyone else from the public? I don't see any other hands raised. I'll close it to the public. Commissioner Preston.
Mayor, I want to first thank you for bringing up about the parking, because that's one of the things that I was going to bring up, because I get calls on that. Secondly, we must remember that this was a graveyard. It was turned into a commemorable park, but this was a graveyard. You had a lot of historical people buried there, meaning American Indians, slaves, or relatives of slaves. So it went back a long way. So, and the reason I bring that up is because people go there to grieve their loved ones. The problem has been that some people have gone there to do just that, and the doors were locked. Now I know that they were actually doing some work, but I would say that to the city manager, just have staff be conscientious that there are people that go there on a regular basis to grieve their loved one, and it's hard to do that when the doors are locked. And I do understand that recently there was some work going on, and I relayed that to some people, but it's a concern that we need to address.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. We'll make sure that's taken care of.
Thank
Commissioner,
you.
do you want a motion on this item?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we approve this. I will say this, Mayor, that the man that brought up about the scope of the work to be done as it relates to cameras, that information can get to us so that we're clear with it. But this is a good thing to be able to have this, have cameras up for this. I totally support it, and I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Mr. Santucci, can we anticipate some more specifics regarding this project?
We can certainly provide those, Mayor. We do have the specifics, quite frankly, whenever we're dealing with the security cameras, as you saw with the most recent LETF request. We are purposely a little bit vague with the models and the particulars of what we're getting. I will say that Parks and Recreation, law enforcement, and the vendor were out there to identify the exact locations of where these cameras will be, what the coverage of those cameras will be. And again, this is the camera system that we are using throughout the entire city, so it's compatible with the OTIC, and everything reports back into law enforcement.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Commissioner Hudak, you have your hand up. Did you want to second it or comment?
I'd definitely like to second it, but I'd also like to see what the public art looks like.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. We'll hold and we can look at the public art. If the commission's all right with that.
Yes, I'm fine. Yeah, that's good.
All right, thank you. Go ahead. Mr. Santucci, you guys want to show us the public art?
Yes, Samantha, if you can move to the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, Preston.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission. Preston Pooser, Parks and Recreation Director. Excited tonight to really show the public and the City Commission the public art that we're looking at the Gilbert Richardson Knowles Memorial Park and Historic Cemetery. As you know, that we opened the park last August 24th. It's an outstanding park. There's a lot of people that goes through there every day. We get a lot of great feedback on that park, and we think that the public art portion of this is going to be an outstanding addition for that park. Samantha, next slide, please. I'll just go through the process. In July 2019, the state appropriated funds to purchase and install public art at the Brand Hilda Richardson Knowles Memorial Park and Cemetery. The project budget was $160,000. We had a minimum of 3 art pieces that we could add, and the grant agreement was executed on October 9th, 2019. The grant agreement project end date is June 30th, 2020. Next slide, please. As per the grant agreement, we did initiate a call to artists using the platform Cafe in January of 2020. The call to artists lasts 4 weeks, and we had a great response to it. We had 347 submissions. With community development and my staff, we looked at all of those submissions, whittled it down to the pieces that we thought fit the park the best. There were a lot of wood pieces and a lot of pieces that frankly weren't going to last, that we kind of got out of the process and went on with more stuff that we think is going to be there for a very long time, very durable pieces. And the city has selected 3 art pieces from those submissions. Next slide, please. The novel idea book benches. They're carved to form books with local authors of interest and titles engraved on there. It's a granite piece. They're 16 inches high by 16 inches wide and 72 inches long. And there's 4 of those pieces. The novel idea benches, what we're looking for, each, if you notice those books, they have authors on them. What we want to do is find local African-American authors, local authors, maybe Deerfield Beach authors, and possibly Bahamian authors, since there is such a influence from the Bahamas in that park. We've also reached out to the Historical Society, and we're also discussing with the African American Research Library and Cultural Center in Fort Lauderdale and to get some possible names to put on those books. So we're actually excited about that. It's not only art, it's usable art that people can sit on and enjoy, but it's also an education piece to have those local authors as well as African American authors and Bahamian authors. We're very excited about that, and there's 4 pieces that'll go within the park for that. Next slide, please. The Blue Tranquility sculpture will be in actually the middle of the park. There's a large green space right in the middle. The piece is aluminum and enamel. The dimensions are 16 inches wide, around actually, and 72 inches high. And there's only 1 of those pieces. That'll be on the center green of the park. Next slide, please. This last piece is called My Aching Heart. I like that name. The material is stainless and carbon steel. The dimensions are 78 inches tall by 48 inches wide and 25 inches deep, and there's only 1 of these. Next slide, please. These are proposed locations. As you can see, the middle, the Blue Tranquility sculpture is in that middle green space. It's a great focal point. It's right there in there with our middle piece, the leaf wall, if everybody remembers. That portion of it, it's a focal point of the park. It's right in the center. You also notice the other 4 areas in the middle where the novel idea book benches are. There's 4 of those. So anywhere you walk in, you can see one of those benches and learn about the local art, African American art, artists, the Bahamian artists. And the My Aching Heart piece, we're looking at the north end of the park. You have 2 inches on the northeast there where people can walk through and enjoy that piece. Any questions about the site locations while we have that slide up? Okay, next slide. The expected completion date for the purchase and installation of all 6 pieces is on track for June 30th. We're working with all the artists on that deadline. Due to COVID, there was some delay in the supplies for the book benches. We may need a small extension for that, but it won't be much. I think we'll be fine. The heart sculpture and the flame sculpture are all on track, and we're ready to go with those. They're on track for delivery. We expect that everything is going to be installed and ready to go by that June 30th deadline. Next slide.
Thank you, Preston.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes, Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Okay, we are now at comments by administration and legal.
Mr. Soroka, do you have anything to say?
I do have something today. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm requesting an executive session for the City Commission regarding the case of Town of Hillsborough Beach versus the City of Deerfield Beach, case number 17-007784. And that will be coordinated with your schedules through the City Manager's office. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Santucci?
Yes, just a few comments and updates for the City Commission this evening. One, we are near completion of the 2019 CAFR. We should be able to present that at the June 2nd Commission meeting and meeting the deadline for both GFOA and the state, which is the June 30th deadline. I just want to thank Ms. Stephanie Tinsley, our CFO, and her team for their efforts on this, having come in just literally on the day when, I think it was March 16th, when the executive orders came in. She has had a daunting task of familiarizing herself with the city's finances, moving this CAFR forward, pressing forward with the budget, and also with the audit we are going through right now. So thank you, Stephanie, for all your hard work and effort, and to your team as well. Wanted to just tell the commission, as we have spoken about, currently the pier and the boat ramp, they are both limited to resident only. That was purposely done so that we could gauge the how that would come forward and what that would look like out there. We believe that it's a manageable situation now, and with now having retail open, having the restaurants open, and presumably beaches opening on the 26th, people will have much more to do out and about, and hopefully won't be an overcoming situation. So we're proposing to lift that restriction for the 26th, the resident restriction there at the pier. So you'd have fishing only on the pier, and you would have the boat ramp as well. And those hours, I believe, are 6 to 7 or 6 to 8. One of them 6 to 7 and the other one's 6 to 8. So please don't quote me, but they still are at the limited hours on the county emergency order. Lastly, we did talk a little bit about grant funding today. And I think it's important that the commission know that we, also have received additional grant funding that we are waiting on HUD to come down and tell us what we can do with those. We're very anxious to get a response from them, but we suspect that there will be additional grant funding that can be used for both businesses and residents in amount upwards of close to $1 million. So we're yet to get the guidance from them. We are hoping that we get it soon, and as quickly as we do, we'll be bringing forward something to the City Commission for approval. The types of programs we're looking at would be residential rental assistance, utility payment, more of the micro enterprise funds, and foreclosure prevention as well. And that's all I have for this evening.
Okay.
Comments by Mayor and City Commission.
Let's start with District 4. Keep him on his toes.
All of us on our toes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I would let you know, Mr. Mayor, that in addition to Mr. Karasik's email that was read during the public portion tonight, I have been receiving other emails from residents in my district and throughout the city about the smaller boutique gyms. So in your discussions with other mayors in the county, if there's a way that you can address that, because I understand, I got an email today that LA Fitness is going to be opening their gyms statewide, but for Miami-Dade and Broward counties. So I, in theory, could go to Palmetto Park Road and Powerline and go to an LA Fitness, but I can't go a half mile away to a small boutique gym in my own city. So if that's something that could be greatly looked at, I would appreciate it for our small business owners here in Deerfield Beach. In addition to that, I want to thank staff for the really great job that they did, Mr. Gressick and his team, for the presentation that we had at the recycling workshop. I think that was a great presentation, and he really raised the bar. I think he understands, what this commission is looking for in a presentation. It had the background, it had the financial and economic impacts to it, it had the go forward options and the pros and cons to each. So to the other department heads, take note, because that is really the standard going forward, what a presentation to this commission, or at least to this commissioner should look like. So I can't thank Mr. Gressick and his team and the city manager for putting that together. And in addition, to the resident feedback that we received during that workshop as well going forward. There's some tough decisions to be made, but I think that we vetted a lot, and going forward, I think we have some good information to help us with those decisions. I also want to let the residents know, in my district in particular, in Independence Bay, if you live in Independence Bay, if you live in waterways, if you live in Waterford courtyards, if you live in Waterford homes, and if you live in Commissioner Parnas's district in Century Village, beware that the Florida Department of Transportation is moving forward again with respect to Southwest 10th Street. And I don't have anything tonight, but I'm told that soon we should have some new ideas that they are contemplating, and that they're reaching out to those particular neighborhoods to have public meetings with you on short notice as to your feedback and to whether your comments, to take it into consideration to these new design criteria that they have come up with. I have not seen it. I hope to see it in short order, and I hope to communicate with my residents and communities about what is coming. But beware, it is coming, and it is coming very quickly. And that has always been the downfall with the Florida Department of Transportation, is rushing something too quick and not getting the public feedback and input that this project so desperately needs. And I fear that we're going too fast and not going to incorporate the public feedback as part of this process, especially on short notice, especially when the electeds haven't seen what is being proposed. So if we haven't seen it as the elected officials, I don't know how we can communicate to our residents and constituents what is coming. So just be forewarned. It is coming. It is coming quickly. And I hope to have a more substantive update for you at our next commission meeting, but that is all that I really know for now. There was also, lastly, there was an article in this week's Pelican regarding the bridge sidewalk going over the Intracoastal Waterway on Hillsborough Boulevard. And the reporter had reached out to BSO asking for the number of citations that had been issued for individuals who refused to walk their bike across, who instead decide to ride it against the ordinance that we had passed. But the information wasn't available as a press time. I would like to see that information provided in our weekly packet this Friday, because we had vowed when we passed this ordinance, I remember very distinctly as part of that discussion, is not passing an ordinance that we cannot enforce, a feel-good ordinance. That this commission has always been very adamant about being able to enforce or enact ordinances that are enforceable. And if this is not being enforced, then I think we as the commission need to know that. Maybe there's other options or other opportunities or more signage or more enforcement by BSO. I don't know what the disconnect here is, but apparently it's big enough that it received a half-page article in the Pelican this week. And I think I, for one, would like more. It's not my district, but I would like more information as to what is happening on that front. And with that, that is all that I have for this week. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. District 3.
Hello. First, I want to thank all the citizens that have been obeying the rules, wearing their masks in public, doing the right thing. Comparatively, we haven't seen a giant spike in Deerfield Beach. And I think that's because most of our residents are cooperating. There'll always be a few say, don't tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want. And it's unfortunate that. But for the most part, I want to commend the stores that have signs, do not enter without a mask. You will not be served. The object is not to punish the public. It's to save lives. And I wish more people just understood that we are trying to keep them from being ill and dying. That's our goal. So that tomorrow or the week after, when restrictions are lifted, you can enjoy them instead of being in a hospital ICU unit. That's the key here. So please continue to cooperate. It's for your own good and the sake of your loved ones. That's all I have from District 3.
Thank you. District 2.
Because of a lot of physical underlying issues, the Black community has been disproportionately affected by COVID-19 in both infection and death. And because of that, I was talking to a young man. He's the senior vice president of operations with Broward Health, and I had been. This was going on as much as a couple of weeks ago, maybe even more, of trying to get a testing site here in the city of Deerfield Beach. Now, he and I went back, Mr. Clark and myself went back and forth about, the ability to have that. And apparently, Broward Health looks at data, as he told me that as they were looking at, I guess there's different criteria. And he said that basically Deerfield Beach did not fit the model to be able to have a testing site. But I want to ask the city manager to have staff reach out, whether it's to Broward Health or all the other entities that in fact have testing, and that that we can see if we can get a testing site in the city of Deerfield Beach. It is needed. Now, we have a ready-made situation over at Oviedo McKeithen, where it would not be logistically a problem, but to see if we can get that in the city of Deerfield Beach. It is much, much needed. The next thing I want to say is that with the meetings going forward, if my colleagues would agree to just in the beginning, when we're saying the Pledge of Allegiance, just let the mayor say it, if that's all right, if we can just talk about that a little bit, because all of us are patriotic, but we're dealing with a situation that doesn't allow the continuity that we would like it to have, is to show that there is a balance. And so that if the mayor said the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm good with that. And hopefully the rest of my colleagues will be okay with that. And that would just straighten that out and start us off on a better footing, I think. That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. That's a good point. Thank you. District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of items that I have for District 1. The first one came up earlier this week with a citizen who sent me an email and made up a great point. A lot of citizens have purchased beach passes for the 2020 year and have not been able to utilize those beach passes for probably about 25% of the time. And so I'd like to see if we can put something together. And I don't know if we have the records, but maybe the individuals who purchased the 2020 passes, when they purchase the 2021 passes, get a 25% discount. Something of that to try to make those individuals whole because they have not been able to go to the beach. They have not been able to utilize those parking passes, even though they paid full price for those. So if that's something that we could please look into. Whatever is administratively the easiest way to make those individuals whole, I would be a proponent of. So if we could please look into that, Mr. City Manager, I would appreciate that. Over the past year, as District 1 Commissioner, I've tried to do a lot of things in order to connect with the residents of District 1. Saturday meetings and our quarterly District 1 town halls. I am now starting a newsletter and I began sending out invites today. So individuals who would like to receive the District 1 newsletter, please go to the Deerfield Beach website and click on the Sign Me Up button in the lower left-hand corner. There you will see a list of all kinds of alerts that you could receive from the city, whether it's storm alerts, whether it's the District 1 newsletter and other items. So if you are interested in receiving the District 1 newsletter, please go ahead and click on the icon so that you can be as informed as I can possibly get a hold of you. The next item I have is the census. It's extremely important that our residents sign up for and respond to the census. Currently, national response rate for the 2020 census is 59.6%. The state of Florida is 57.1%. The city of Deerfield Beach is 35.5%. So we have to count every resident in the city of Deerfield Beach. That gives us an opportunity to receive our fair share of more than 1.5 trillion in federal funding for infrastructure, schools, housings, roads, healthcare, and public service programs. The inaccurate census count also provides critical funding for hospitals, disaster recovery, like what we're going through right now. So please go to www.my2020census.gov or call 1-844-330-2020. It takes less than 5 minutes in order to complete the census, and the city reaps untold rewards. So I please ask you to do that. Mr. City Manager, we had an email today from one of our longstanding business owners, Lindsay Cottrell in District 1. And I know we are at the mercy of the county. So I do ask that you please work with them when the county allows us to and the state allows us to try to see what we can do about having their summer camps open. The state has canceled all of the summer camps. The county has canceled all of the summer camps. There are a lot of parents who both parents go to school and are going to be wondering what to do with their children. And this is at least one avenue that, if permissible, they can take advantage of. So I ask you to please keep that in mind and keep in contact with them to try to work out a win-win solution if it is indeed possible. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Preston, I see you have your hand raised. Did you want to say something?
Yes, and thank you, Mayor. I just don't want to adjourn without talking about, what I said, that everybody's comfortable with you leading the Pledge of Allegiance. And the last thing is, Mayor, I did have one other thing that I neglected to talk about. The Navajo Nation is the hottest spot in America for COVID-19. They are really catching it really, fast, and they're dying. And there was a spokesperson from the Navajo Nation they were being asked, what do you need? They don't have water and they don't have sanitizers. The sanitizers, it doesn't really help them because they don't have any water to be able to use it. So I would like to ask staff to look into that. And if there is something that we as a city could do, like send water and some sanitizers, I would, like my colleagues to look into that, and depending on what information we get from the city manager, that sort of thing, but be prepared to be able to help the Navajo Nation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
I have no problem, and we can rotate out if we'd like. I suggest that when we do, if whoever wants to do the Pledge of Allegiance, only one of us does it and leads us all in it, and we remain seated as we do it. To Commissioner Hudak's point, and I know taking up the argument about parking passes, I am wholeheartedly against that. Let me tell you why. It's $75 for a year. Yes, 25% of the time they haven't been able to use it this year, but this is not something that the city of Deerfield Beach did. This is an act of God. If it was raining and it was inclement weather for 25% of the time, what would they do? Come to us and ask for a refund? I have a problem with that. And I don't agree with giving them a discount on it. It's such a small amount of money. And I think it's really petty for people to start looking for a refund because they haven't been able to use a beach parking sticker that's already extraordinarily discounted compared to what it would normally be. What I would much rather do, if we're looking at giving our residents a break, and I'm going to ask that the city manager and staff get back to us with some numbers, is to find out if we could maybe give either to our residential customers with their water bill a discount on their water bill, or some way for us to give assistance to our residents during these hard times. There have been so many that have been impacted by this. There's not a person out there that hasn't been impacted by this, but I think we can cover a lot more ground and make a bigger impact if we look at potentially giving either some sort of discount or waiver of a month's worth of water bill as a gesture to our residents to try to see what we can do. I know it's a enterprise fund. It's not going to be taken from any other area in order to do that. It depends on what we're able to do. But if we could look at some potential numbers, if the commissions are all right with looking at that, I would like us to take a look at that. I agree wholeheartedly, though, with Commissioner Preston about trying to get a testing location in Deerfield Beach. I know Vice Mayor Parnes did a great job of really hustling and trying to work to get one right across the street from Deerfield over at just across the way in Pompano at the Festival Flea Market. But I think as we start opening up, one of the best ways we can protect our residents is to give them the ability to access testing easily. So that way they can find out whether or not they have the virus, keep themselves self-quarantined, and limit their exposure to those that don't have it. The more testing, the better off we're going to be as far as being able to corral this. So anything we can do, I'm going to be speaking to whoever I can to try to see if we can get a testing location in Deerfield Beach. I've talked to the city manager, potentially putting in a central location over at Oviedo McKeithen Park. And I know from what Commissioner Preston has said, I know that's something he would support as well, based on public comments that he's made. So I support you with that, Commissioner, and hopefully we can get something happening in Deerfield Beach. I'm sure Vice Mayor Preston or Vice Mayor Parnes can tell us just how difficult it was to even get what we did get. So we're going to continue that fight and keep pushing forward. I'll circle back to you, Vice Mayor, in a moment, if that's all right. I see your hand is raised.
Sure.
On Thursday, I have a meeting with FDOT regarding 10th Street. I am going to advocate to have them push out these public meetings a little bit. I don't like us going lull for quite a long time and suddenly gearing up rather quickly. A few more weeks to give everyone enough notification and time for input, and then digestion of that input is needed. And it shouldn't have a major impact on the project moving forward. But I am confident that FDOT is at least much closer to giving us something that we can live with, as opposed to something that made absolutely no sense which is what we've been dealing with for quite a while now. I too want to echo Commissioner Drosky's comments regarding the recycling presentation. I called Chad Gressick personally on the phone to thank him. I'm really hard on that department because I don't always care for some of the approaches that we take when we present materials. But that was one of the best presentations I've seen in 12 years sitting up here. And it was, it gave us a lot of options. It was not one-sided in any way. And it gave us the pros and the cons and left it up to us to make that decision, which allows us to go out and talk with our constituents. It was an outstanding job, and I really appreciated Chad and really good job with you and your staff. And thank you, Mr. Santucci, for the work on that. I've also requested our city manager to put together numbers to give us an idea of what this impact is going to have on us. And I know that he's taken some measures that have cut our spending, cutting some of our capital projects, and certain positions that have, no pay status from the operations have been suspended. And I know that's bringing us in some savings, but I think it's important for us to have a comprehensive look so we can make some decisions once we know where the numbers are falling. It's a little difficult with some of these moving targets, and I know we have money coming in from different areas to help offset some of this. But the reality is this is going to have an economic impact on us. And while there are some, we have some numbers, I would like a formal presentation put together for the commission to review the numbers, make a decision on how we're going to make up for those shortfalls beyond what has already been suggested and put in place by the city manager. And that might mean some tough decisions, but it shouldn't be. We need to look at that by next meeting. It needs to be on the agenda, and it needs to be with all the details and the information and the statistics that I've requested. So if we could have that on the next agenda, that would be great. And Commission, does anyone disagree with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
All right. Vice Mayor Parnas, I know you wanted to say something I said earlier. Do you want to speak?
Two quick items. One of the requirements at the festival flea market is that you show symptoms before you make an appointment. There's a reason for it. They had to shut down once because they ran out of supplies, because everybody ran to get tested. The same thing applies now. They don't have testing kits to test the entire county. If everybody ran to the festival flea market and got tested, it would close again. Who knows when they could get resupplied? They've asked that if you're showing symptoms, even if you can't get to the festival flea market, if you're stuck in your home, you're elderly, you're infirm, they will arrange to come to your home and test you. There's sparse. We don't have enough testing kits. Please don't abuse it. Secondly, I've been saying the Pledge of Allegiance since I'm 8 years old. I'm a veteran. Every day when we lowered the flag, we saluted it. I'm sorry, but I think we should all salute the flag when we say the pledge, even whether one person leads it or not. You can do what you want, but I will still stand and salute the flag and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I feel very strongly about that.
Well, then moving forward, and this is why, because you being a veteran and me knowing how patriotic you are, as we all are, and we have another veteran on our board as well, you can lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance every time. I think to Commissioner Preston's point is, and on these Zoom meetings, when we're all speaking over each other, it sounds like the worst choir in the world, and it's probably more disrespectful to the flag than it is actually paying tribute. So if we'll have you lead it from here on, we can all put our hands over our chest and say it the way we want it. But if we all do it at the same time, this is not the Vienna Boys Choir. We sound like we sound terrible, to be honest with you. So I think that was more, and I don't want to speak for Commissioner Preston, but that's the way I took his point.
That is that's it, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Are you okay with that, Vice Mayor?
Absolutely. I'd be honored to say the pledge at every meeting.
That would be great. We'll have you doing that. We'll have you do that moving forward. I just want to go back to these numbers. I had requested these numbers over a week ago, as a formal discussion for this agenda. And while I said that it didn't necessarily have to be on the agenda, I want it to be a point of discussion with all of us with the information distributed before the meeting. I was handed this, what little information I do have right now, right before this meeting, which to me is not what I was asked for, and it's unacceptable in my opinion. So that is why I'm asking for this to be on the agenda for the next meeting. And I want us to have a full discussion, and this should be fully fleshed out by Friday's packet for the commission to have in their hands, so we can look at these preliminary numbers. If we're looking between a $5.5 to $6 million potential shortfall, and despite what we've done, which maybe might cut that in half, that's still a significant amount of money. While we have healthy reserves, we need to look at, do we want to dip into that and leave it to the commission to give guidance and direction as far as what we should do with changing some of these or how we're going to recoup some of these shortfalls. So City Manager, you want to comment on that?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Again, I appreciate you recognizing that this is going to be a moving target, and it continues to be. The revenue projection shortfalls that you spoke of are based off of what we believe is a conservative approach to the revenue. We're not looking at this optimistically. And additionally, we are scrubbing through all of our expenditures and this year's current budget to find ways in which we can save money to ensure that we try to meet the gap of those revenue shortfalls that we're likely to see this year. That said, I'm approaching this as I would any budget. Is that I get presented with a wish list of items, and I dig deeper and I dig deeper, and that's what I'm going to continue to do on these expenditures to ensure that we close that gap as much as possible. Additionally, the other variable in this whole situation, besides what the impacts of what COVID will be, is what monies will come down from the federal government. There are, at this point in time, even just as recently as this evening, learned about $484 billion in what's called SMART funding that is coming down to state and local governments, specifically for revenue shortfall, to meet revenue shortfalls of states and local government. That's in addition to what I learned yesterday, which is on the HEROES Act, which brings an additional $1 trillion to state and local government for revenue shortfalls. So, even as the information that in the memo that I've provided to each one of you commissioners, and some of you probably haven't received it because it's in your box right now, and that will be in your weekly packet, the numbers will change. So we will continue to look at the revenues, monitor the revenues, tweak the expenditures, and look at the funding that is coming in for us specifically for this purpose as we continue throughout the remainder of this fiscal year. So, it will be a moving target as we get closer and closer. The numbers will continue to get refined as we get closer and closer.
Well, that's fine, but we need a starting point so we can take a look at it and see where we're at. And included in that, I'd like to see what has happened with the decisions that were made on wages, both the positive and the negative impacts that's had on where we're at, and make sure that the commission is given the opportunity to see the complete picture and make tough decisions should that need to happen. I know there's going to be money coming in to address a lot of these shortfalls, but I think all of us it's our responsibility to be able to look at that and make a decision on what works for us financially as a city. So I definitely want to see that by this Friday, distributed to the commission and an agenda item on the next commission meeting. Is that clear?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay, with that, I have no other comments. I don't believe I do. Oh, I do have one more, and it would be everyone deserves to have their word, have their say. And I had a phone call from a woman today who was very much against wearing masks out in public. She did not like the aspect of the beach being closed, and if the beach should open, that she didn't like. She thought that that masks limited her breathing and created an issue. Now, whether I agree with that or not, and we debated back and forth for a little while, her opinion deserves to be heard. So I want all of you to hear that and understand. And then when I speak with the other mayors, I will share that some of our residents feel that when beaches open, that they should not have to wear masks when they're out there. Obviously, some of us who spend a lot of time on the water around there and trying to avoid the sun use a lot of these fishing face shields and garb to protect our skin and protect us from the environment that really don't cause problems when it comes to overheating. Some of these masks that people are using are cumbersome and limit breathing, especially when it comes to strenuous activity in the hot sun. So I can empathize with that, but I think it's right to make sure that she didn't want to call in tonight, but she wanted at least to be heard. So I want to make sure that her opinion was heard on that. With that, looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor in a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All of my colleagues, stay healthy, stay safe, guys. Bless your family.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.